Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we are Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is one of the things we do. Thank you for joining us here. You can also subscribe to the podcast. You get a little alert that says, hey, this is the topic this week. It's pretty great.
They should absolutely already have done that. And if you haven't and you're just finding us, do it!
You can also DM us with questions, topic suggestions. We take them all. Or if you just want to tell us hello and about what's going on with your life, you can reach out to us at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I'm there too. Story Thursday on Instagram, Tasha 3.0 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter. Josh Hallman on Instagram. Tasha.
Joshua.
We are in peak movie time. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the mecca of movie viewing for me, at least. I know there's people love their summer viewing. I might say this in the summer, but I love this time of year.
I think we had a great summer as well.
We did have a pretty good summer, but this is it. Like, I feel like that we're in the end of the year.
Yeah.
We have great movies coming. We have a lot to look forward to in 2025 in terms of movies. So I think the future is bright. And
I
also,
love that.
From a writing perspective, this is it. Like, now family's in town. Your days are just winding down. You got to finish writing whatever you're writing right now.
You do.
This is the final. This is the push.
People are asking for shit.
And I just want to say one quick thing, because I've been kind of updating my physical ailments on the Act Two podcast.
Yeah, this is the place.
And I just wanted everyone to know, and you know this, I cracked my tooth.
Mm-hmm.
So directly after this podcast, I'm going to get some work done.
That's today.
It's in 1 hour from right now.
Oh, shit.
And
well, we got to hurry this up.
And so I asked the dentist, I was like, what can I eat with this thing that, I'm going to have this new tooth or whatever. He said, I can't eat popcorn. So it's off the table. My movie viewing experience for this Christmas season's already screwed.
This is actually tragic.
It is.
So can you eat it on the other side of your mouth?
He said, I don't think you should do that. In fact, he said popcorn is the absolute one thing you should not be eating.
No.
Yeah. I think he was saying that even without having a cracked tooth. Yeah.
Without knowing you. What about Twizzlers?
So that was the other thing. He said no, chewy candy.
Oh, Josh, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I might not even go to movies anymore.
Why even bother?
That's what I thought. I was like, man, what's the point?
Listen, I'll have butter popcorn and Twizzlers in your honor and send you a picture.
I'm going to be so sad. I'll be happy for you, but I'm also going to be like, damn it. I eat popcorn weekly.
Yeah. And popcorn is a great snack. It's so good.
Anyway, that's how I just wanted to.
Can I ask you, given your love of popcorn, how do you feel about this new emergence of the popcorn bucket?
I didn't even know there was what is the new emergence?
The new, it started with Dune, how they had that controversial, bizarre popcorn bucket. And every big movie is releasing something popcorn bucket related that you can get at the movie theater. Do you approve, disapprove, care, not care? You clearly don't. It wasn't even on your radar as a popcorn lover.
I fully approve. And I don't think this is a new thing. I think this has been going on forever.
I don't ever remember having designed popcorn buckets. You would get your normal paper bucket and it might have imagery from a movie that is being advertised.
That's true.
I bought, and I've not used it for popcorn, I bought a claptrap from the Borderlands movie, and now I just have it just sitting there as an ornament because it's so cool. And as someone who's also bought a Stitch popcorn bucket at Disneyland, because now they're in on this popcorn bucket thing.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't fucking make sense as a popcorn bucket. None of these make sense as a popcorn bucket. You can't fit your hand in there. You can't fit much popcorn in there. I don't understand, and it's making me angry, and I didn't know I was this angry until this moment.
Well, I fully approve.
Okay.
I think there should be a popcorn bucket for every movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
But then your house is full of popcorn buckets. Where the fuck do you put popcorn buckets?
No, absolutely. They are in the trash within a week.
All right.
Okay.
I have a couple this week's in writings, actually. Do you have any this week's in writings?
I just have one thing I want to talk about.
Okay, I'll go quick because I know you have a dental emergency to fix.
No, we can't rush the podcast. Dr. Lee can wait.
This week in writing.
This week in writing.
All right, Josh, I have a question for you. I basically want you to help me with this on the podcast. There is a project that was sent to me. It is a graphic novel. It is very cool. The world is very cool. It's kind of like horror-esque. The time period is very cool. It's a world that I've wanted to, I wouldn't say like I've always wanted to work in this world, but it's so unique that like I would love to write in this space. And there's something to the character arc that is also very cool. It stars like a young girl, and it's kind of a coming of age story, but with like dark magic. So all the things that's very Tasha. But there's something about it that I'm not like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this. I love this thing so much. And I don't know what that missing piece is.
Ooh.
And I'm at this stage where like in 2 weeks I have to engage or disengage. What should I do?
Well, so I'm big on gut reaction. Mm-hmm. I probably live my life based off of instant reaction to something, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So I would sit on it a little longer, think about it. And if it is a project that you're just still not, if you have to force your way into it, I think you got to pass.
Yeah.
I want to give a caveat to that.
Okay.
This is not just for you. This is for everybody. If there is a financial implication that someone's like, this is a no-brainer. Why would you not do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you always do that.
You always do the job.
You always do the job.
Yeah,
I'm just saying this strictly from a emotional screenwriting connection to it. But I have a feeling you're going to find a way into it, because even the way you were just speaking about it sounded a little exciting.
It is exciting. I think I found a theme that I like, but again, with my gut, like usually when I read something, I'm like, oh, fuck yes, I would love to work on this. Or I'm like, no, but I've never quite been like this much in the middle. Like I can totally see what this show is, but I'm also like, like I could take it or leave it.
Oh, that's the
worst. Which is not a good place to be.
Can you imagine if that's how someone felt about you? They're like,
oh, they do. They've made themselves very clear.
What? What are you talking about?
About my stuff?
No, I'm just saying,
or as a person.
Like your writing and stuff. Like I feel like when people say that about someone, or I guess as a person, or your projects or whatever, when it's just down the middle and they're like, they don't feel one way or the other.
It's it's honestly worse. Yeah.
It's the worst.
All the people on Twitter who are like, it's fine. Like I could take it or leave it.
That's right.
Like, ah.
Yeah, this didn't make you feel one way or the other.
Yeah, just like, I'd rather it infuriate you.
Yeah. So I think you have to think about it, work on the themes.
All right.
And then once you feel like you have something, you give it a day or two and then come back and think about it again. And if you're excited, you do it.
Okay.
I want to talk about something that happened last week.
Okay.
There was a spec sale that I'm sure this has been talked about a lot, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast, from a guy who was an unknown writer. And in this article on The Hollywood Reporter, it says that, this is the headline, the production company and banner have preemptively picked up Alignment, a spec script by Nathan Doughton, a man who until a week ago had no representation. Which is insanely awesome. It's wild. This thing sold for like $3 million, and it's about AI. And it is, I actually read the script. It's pretty engaging. It takes place over 72 hours. And I think it was the perfect example of right place, right time.
Yeah.
And a good script. And I just wanted to bring it up because when you see things like this as a writer, you're like, you get amped up.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I wish specs sold more often, and I wish there was a bunch of these. It used to be a lot more, but this was just crazy because it felt like it came out of left field. I feel like everyone was like, what is this script? Where is this coming from? Like everyone's heads were just spinning.
Yeah.
So whenever you read it, I'd be very curious to what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it. I was actually thinking maybe for one of the script clubs we do for our Patreon, we could read the script and talk about why
we absolutely should.
It got the feedback that it did. So in the new year, look out for that, Patreon subscribers. Yeah, so you're a better person than me. Whenever I read these articles, I actually like this dark creature of jealousy like boils up inside me, and then I push it down and I say like, great for that person. That's amazing. I'm so happy for the journey that they are embarking on. But like I'm always like, why them? You know, like what about like what? And then of course it's all related to my own fear of being a terrible writer. Like let's be honest. Of course. And it's interesting because I remember I felt the same way when, if you remember Mickey Fisher, he wrote Extant, which was a pilot that went around town and was huge. It ended up becoming a show starring Halle Berry. And we had him on the podcast, and it was very interesting because he was like, yeah, like that was in the news that I was this new writer who was unrepresented, etc. But I had been working to do this job for years. I had been trying for so many years to become a screenwriter, a professional screenwriter. So there's so much sort of behind the scenes that you don't see. Like I highly doubt that this guy has never written a screenplay before ever. And then he wrote this amazing script. But it's entirely possible because it's not like the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
It is entirely possible. Should we try to get this guy in the podcast? There's no chance.
Absolutely.
There's no, I fully agree that he has probably written scripts in the past.
I mean, he has led quite a life, similar to Mickey Fisher. Like he has a PhD in sociology or something I read, right? And he's led a whole other life before getting to this point.
Yeah. And Mickey's like the nicest guy ever. And I remember having the exact same feeling when that happened, being like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen?
Mickey Fisher.
Fucking Mickey Fisher. And then you meet him, you're like, oh.
Oh, you're awesome. And I am a terrible person.
Hey, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
No, he's great.
All right. So, yeah, there's hope in the world.
Yes.
All right. What else you got, Tasha?
Okay. I got two more things, but I can whittle it down to one if you want.
You do. Hey, you do you.
Okay. So I had a breakthrough in an idea this week that I wanted to talk about because it started from character, and I'm always very excited when this works. So like I am a huge advocate of not starting from plot on things, but starting from character. What do I want my character to learn? What emotional journey do I want to write about? Do I want her to go through? How do I want her to start the movie? How do I want her to end the movie? So I came up with all these ideas, and I brainstormed all of that, and knowing that like these could change depending on how my research goes or how I continue to think. But like this is my first like precious, first snow kind of thoughts. Like this is what I want it to be. And then I started reading, I started doing research, and I'd pick up little details along the way during my research. And so I just keep this like running log of just like little interesting details here and there. That would kind of help me go, oh, like maybe I could use that. Maybe I could use that. Not sure if I will, but like, okay, pieces are starting to pull together. A week later, I'm still just like thinking about this journey. I randomly watched Mulan. I was just in the background as I was doing Lego. And
what a night.
It's the best night. And it made me like the cricket character in there that's Lucky is an interesting character because it's unclear if he's really lucky or not, but he jumpstarts the movie, right? Like he makes Mulan totally fuck up her meeting with the matchmaker, which is what sets everything in motion for her to then become a soldier. Later on in the movie, he does something else. He explodes something that causes the Huns to see them. So like there's several things along the way that the cricket does that actually makes Mulan's journey fulfilled. So there is something like, oh, like it is lucky, but not in the way that you expect. I was like, that's so interesting. And I didn't even think of it in relation to the project I'm working on. So like that was just in my head. And I go on and I research and I think about other things. And suddenly I was like, oh, this thing that I researched 2 weeks ago really fits in with this Mulan idea. What if I made it this? And suddenly like I had a whole new way into my movie. And I just want to talk about that as like the very random way that ideas can come together.
Whoa.
And I think not to feel like the work gets done at the computer or at your notebook in that moment. Like it gestates and it morphs and it becomes all these other things along the way. And I just thought that was cool.
That's incredible. You find inspiration through other movies, reading scripts. All the time, well, we talk about this all the time. When you read a script sometimes, even if it's a script you don't like, there's something in it where you're like, oh, I could use that and do this differently, and it kind of sparks something. But going back to your idea, so do you have kind of, not a narrator, but is that what it was? It was just something to kind of frame it with someone introducing the movie or something introducing it?
It was actually like figuring out the inciting incident that starts the character on the adventure to begin with.
Oh, I see.
And seeing like the cricket do something that feels bad, but is actually great for Mulan was exactly the moment I needed. And it just like made that piece fit together with another piece I was thinking about that now is like an original idea, but has these seeds of other ideas. It's so fun. Writing's incredible. The best, but the worst.
Writing is the best. When it comes together, it's the best. Okay, I do have one more this week in writing because you just sparked something.
Yeah.
I'm writing something with someone, and I'm doing my pass, which I think I've talked about this before, but basically I've been condensing and combining scenes, and it's been very, very difficult, but I know it's been very helpful because it's like, well, this scene's talky, how can we bring them together, and how can we make something happen? And it's just trying to like condense these moments and give more purpose within the scenes. And it's been hard. It's been taking a really long time, but when it happens and when you do it correctly, it feels so rewarding and so good. Not much of this week in writing, but it just maybe when you were saying like writing is great, it's that feeling like when you do it and you're like, oh my God, this is why I write. This is perfect.
100%. It's this weird high.
It's an incredible high. Anyway.
It's like when you golf and you actually get a good shot and you're like, oh, am I a golfer now? Is this what I'm doing? You're just always chasing that high.
That's the first golf mention I've ever heard from you.
I know. Probably the last. All right, I have one more quick one. I'm going to try to make it quick. So I got a submission of a script that needs a rewrite. And I thought this process was very interesting because the studio who sent it to me, they want to keep the framework of the script, like the structure, the way into the movie. They want to keep all of that. And I was like, no, you need to upend this entire concept, really, to make it a truly great movie. I think that's what you would have to do. But I was sort of given context by my agent about just sort of the history of the project with the studio, how much money they've spent on this project already, how much money they're willing to spend to make it better, to make it a stronger script. Because I think what they really want is just to spend just enough to make what's there good, rather than overhauling it again and ending up in development hell, which we talk about all the time. So my job became either I go in that room and I say, listen, you need to upend this whole thing. And this is the version that I think you should do and that I would be happy to do. Or say, I understand you want to work within the structure. Here's how I think you can make this structure that you already have stronger. And I had to make that choice because A, it's not mine. B, I want a job. So I can go in there cocky being like, what you have sucks and this is a better version. But in some ways, that's also what a creative's job is, to say, actually, like what you guys have is probably the wrong way in. To make the better movie, you should do this. And I want to just say that that's an okay way of handling that meeting. However, it is so important to know the context of a project before going into these meetings, because it's important to give them also what they want, because at the end of the day, they are hiring you to do a very specific task.
Yeah.
And part of that task is, hey, like it's as if you're hiring a contractor. Like, I want you to just build this pool. And they're like, well, but what if we built a pond instead? So it's like also a swimming pool, but it's this. And you're like, no, I just want a pool. Just make this happen. So I just thought that was an interesting scenario. What I ended up doing was hard pitching on a version that would work within the framework that they've given. But at the end, I was like, can I just ask? Is it a hard no to change this structure? Because actually, this is how I truly feel about it. And I will be honest with you, I've not heard back from this producer. It's been several days.
Oh, you'll hear back.
So I'm curious if that last bit
Yeah.
offended them.
No way.
So I guess I'll let you know.
No. You planted the seed. I think you handled that exactly the way anyone should handle that. You planted the seed at the end. But what you said is very interesting. It's definitely correct. Is like there's something to be said about being able to work within the framework that people give you. Even if you know, you're like, no, this needs to change. But then the producer's saying, I understand that version, but this is what the version is. We need someone to make this version better.
Yeah. We don't have the money to make that other version.
Yes.
So what can you do as like a craftsperson to make this version work? Which is a really interesting part of our job.
Yeah. No, that's we should maybe do a full episode on like context, because you're absolutely right that because as a writer, you want to blow things up and just make it your own.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all right. That's kind of a good segue, sort of, into our main topic, which is how to maximize meetings and turn them into opportunities. And this topic comes from just the fact that we're all taking meetings all the time. And there's always a question when we take a meeting, like, how do I turn this into a job or turn this into a relationship? How do I do it without turning the person off and coming on too strong? Or how do I do it so I seem smart? And all these questions sort of come up. And there are ways to maximize a meeting and turn it into an opportunity. So we just thought we would talk about the different sort of main meetings that writers may take, and then how to turn them into opportunities.
I love it.
That makes sense? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so hard, but so important.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with sort of the first meetings that writers tend to take as writers, which is the manager and agent meeting. So you're a new writer, you're meeting with your very first manager and agent. How do you feel like you maximize that meeting and turn it into an opportunity? And in this case, that opportunity is repping you.
So you're unrepped. It's your first meeting.
Yeah.
They've read your stuff.
Yes.
You sit down with them. They tell you they want to rep you, or they tell you nothing. It's just kind of left with, okay, we'll talk to you down the road.
I think it's left open. How do you turn that into an opportunity?
Well, Tasha, I've been in this exact scenario.
Let's go.
So I had a meeting with a manager, and I was taking meetings. What was interesting is that when in some of these meetings, I had people who said, we want to rep you. And I've had other people who said nothing. It was just kind of a general meeting, but that it was kind of set up that way in the beginning as just like, hey, this is just a general meeting. We just want to get to know you, get to know what else you're working on, etc. So what happened with me was I took a meeting. It was left kind of open-ended. The meeting was based off of one specific script. I sent another script afterward, and then some time had gone by, and I was in a position where I wanted to make a decision. And so I wrote the person, and I was like, hey, just to kind of give you the heads up, I'm wanting to make a decision. I have the opportunity to be repped by somebody else. If you don't think this is going to work, that's totally fine. It was great. I really want to work with you. All my cards are on the table, but let me know what you think and we can make this happen, whatever. And the person got back and said, no, I definitely want to rep you. And so they became my rep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way of doing it. Being like, hey, I have these other opportunities, but I really enjoyed meeting you. Give me some clarity basically on where we are.
Absolutely.
That's great.
So that was kind of my way of doing it, and that's what I would do. And I kind of go a little transparent. Like I've done I think anyone in the entertainment industry has maybe overthought scenarios and have been trying to play like chess with people where you're like, I'm not going to write back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, whatever. I just got to a point where I was like completely transparent.
Yeah.
It was kind of like my fuck it.
Life's too short, man.
Fuck it, man. I want to do this. Do you want to do this?
Rules of chess, to play chess.
Yeah.
I've not done this personally, but I know writers who have, and I feel like this is a great way of doing it, which is if you've met with an agent or a manager and they've been vague or said like, yeah, like let's keep in touch, right? Vague. I think what they're saying is, I'm not quite sure yet. I like this person, but is it going to be worth my time to rep them?
Yeah.
Are they going to be of value to me as a manager agent? And so what I've recommended for writers to do is to, when they do that follow-up email, whenever that is, do it with an action that they can take. And that's really what managers and agents are good at, is you give them something to do and they will go do it for you. And it shows that you're bringing value to the table. Meaning, if they left it vague and they've read one of your scripts, let's say you have another script that's ready to go, then you can email them when that script is, you're sure that it's ready. And you say, hey, I have this other idea. Here's the finished script. Let me know what you think we should do with it. Or is this something you feel like you'd want to take out? And that could get them really excited, but also realize that you're writing more and more and more stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, we've said this many times in the podcast, but managers and agents' worst fear is having a client. They have to be constantly like, are you writing? Are you writing? When am I getting your next thing? When am I getting your next thing? So that to me is another way to follow up and maximize an opportunity, is to have that thing waiting in the wings that you can then send them to, like, ask them to take action upon. And then they usually will do something similar to what you're saying. They'll read it and be excited and say, yeah, like, let's take this thing out.
Yeah, completely agree. And we've obviously talked about this, but this is the importance of having a second script. And ideally within the same kind of area that first script is in, because, like, for instance, what we talked about, the AI guy, the guy who sold the spec script, odds are his meetings now are going to be thrillers and maybe things that are in the tech world, and people are asking him what else he has, and it's going to be similar to what his spec script that just sold. But it's so freaking important. And I've said this before, I've been in the position where I've only had one script to send to someone and nothing to follow up with, like, early on, and it's just the worst feeling. So I always have that extra one.
Yeah. All right, the next meeting is the producer meeting. So you meet with a producer. It's a general. You talk about yourself, where you're from, how you got into the business, how you got to writing. And they tell you, this is the stuff we're working on. And maybe they don't say, like, this is something I'd like you to think on. Because oftentimes they will just be like, okay, well, it's great meeting you. It's lovely that we've made this connection. If you have anything new, like, please, we have an open door policy. Like, please send me anything. Because they don't want to miss out on anything, right?
Yes. And
that's typically how a general will end, versus them saying, like, here's a particular project that I think you should work on for us. It's usually, send me anything that you have. What do you do?
Do you like the producer?
I feel like it doesn't matter. Like, let's talk about two stages. One is the stage of, like, I just need a fucking job.
Yeah.
I think if you don't like the producer, obviously, if you have, like, a gut reaction, life's too short.
Yeah, of course. So usually with what I will do, and I'm curious to what you do, is immediately after a meeting, I start, unless there's something that you pitch in the room to that, sometimes it happens where you're meeting with the producer and they're like, we're looking for an AI movie. And you're like, I have it. This is exactly what I'm like. But then other times I will leave the meeting and I will think about exactly what we talked about and what the producer's looking for and give it, like, some time. It's nothing too immediate, but I'll look at old ideas and, oh, could this fit? Could this fit? Could this fit? And then follow up with, hey, Tasha, producer, I was thinking about our meeting. Obviously, great to meet you, all the pleasantries. I had this one idea, would love to get your thoughts on it. I think it's something we could probably work on together. It's in the vein of this, this, and this, like you were talking about. And just come after this person with the exact idea that they were talking about. Yeah. Is that what you do?
Yes.
Just differently, more eloquently.
I'm, as we all know, very bad at specs. So it's...
That's not true.
It is. So...
You know what? You're changing that thought process in 2025.
I love that. Actually, okay, I'm sorry, slight tangent. I told my manager that, like, my weakest writing skill is Act 2. I'm just not good at it. And she was like, how about in 2025 we make it a goal to figure out what's your hurdle in Act 2 and how to overcome this like block that you have when it comes to Act 2s. And so I think this is exactly your goal, is just get better at specs. And change my mindset about specs.
Because I know you're not bad at specs because I have read your specs. I am writing a spec with you, and therefore I know you are not bad at them.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, anyway.
You're my favorite cheerleader.
Damn straight.
So yes, I think absolutely it's sending them, because you talked about all these ideas in the meeting, things that they are looking for as a company, to then come back and say, actually, I'm doing this right now with a studio executive. So it's the same idea. Someone who could potentially pay you to write something, where we talked about an idea that I had in the meeting. And she was like, great, like think about that, because it wasn't fully formed. She's like, yeah, I would be interested in that for sure. Just like think about it. So that was last month. I've since been like thinking about it, and I'm going to email her before Thanksgiving to say, hey, I've, thought more about this idea. This is what I think the movie could be. Give me your thoughts. Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely a great thing, because producers also want to typically develop something with you. Mm-hmm. Sure, they would absolutely love like a perfectly done script they don't need to do anything with, but barring that perfect sort of unicorn, they love being able to like have their fingerprints in something and really feel like they're developing, because producers tend to be like really creative people.
Yeah.
So coming at them with, hey, this is something that I've been thinking about, and you can kind of fudge, to be honest, how far along you are in this process.
I've been working on.
Yeah, I've definitely been working on it for a while. Like I have pages, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
To let them know that you're thinking about it, because I think the biggest thing you want to do when it comes to a producer meeting is stick in their head. Mm-hmm. As someone who is super creative, they loved you in the meeting, and now you're like generating ideas for them. Like that's really exciting to them. And you're staying in their head. So when they may not say like, oh yeah, I absolutely want to develop that with you. That's great. However, if you check in with them, they'll remember you in a couple months when something comes up. They're like, oh yeah, that person sent me that email about like how much they loved AI thrillers. Like I think this would be really great for them.
Yeah. Early on, you kind of hold these people in a certain regard, like the gatekeeper. Mm. They're hard to get to, which I fully understand. But it's important to remember that producers are looking for things. And if you're meeting with the producer, it means they have read your stuff, or you're on a general. There's a reason why you're meeting with them. And you can always follow up with this person with an idea. I've done it. I've waited like a year. There's someone who I've reached out to not long ago who I was like, oh, I had this idea. Someone I met, we hit it off, whatever. And I just like sent him a message and I was like, hey man, like I had this thought, blah, blah, blah. And we started to talk about it. And it was like one of those things where the ball was starting to get rolling. And then it's always constant communication and just being there.
That is such a great point, because there's like the follow-up email if you don't have anything ready to go, like we're talking about, where you're just like, it was so great to meet you. I really loved hearing about what's going on with your company. I'm definitely going to maybe think about these few ideas. Just show them that, again, you're creative and thinking about things. And then in 6 months, if you have something that you're like, oh shit, we talked about this concept, or that they're in need of romantic comedies at this place, I'm going to shoot an email to them and say, hey, just like to give you a heads up, I have this new script that I'm going to be taking out. And I'd love for you to check it out. That is 1000% something you should be doing. It endears you to that producer. They always want to know what's coming out that's new and fresh, so that they can be the first in line to get the next amazing script. So this is such a great way to turn a meeting that you've had into a potential sale or job. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, the director meeting.
Yeah.
You sit down with a writer. Maybe it's over a particular project. You're trying to get them to do their project, or I kind of more want to talk about the meeting that's not on a specific project necessarily, but like you're meeting with a director and like, holy shit, I could potentially work with this person.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do now?
I know a few of the directors you've sat with, so I'd love to hear your follow-up. I've definitely walked on eggshells after meeting with directors.
Oh, like how do you mean?
In the sense I was just much more, hey, it was great to meet with you. Like it took a minute to like ease into, because this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like there's a difference when you start working with creatives. Sure. There's just a different mindset that when people are creative, it's different than a business-minded individual. It's different than a manager or producer. And I know these people are creative, but I'm talking about directors are creative. They have visions. And so I feel like you meet with this person and you just get a sense of who they are. And sometimes you can hit it off and they're just freaking awesome. Other times it's just going to be a business relationship. And you just do a follow-up of like, love to stay connected and keep in touch, like the general bullshit. But
yeah, that's really how I feel about directors as well. Like to me, it's more about the relationship
Yeah.
With a director than it is with a producer. 1,000% it's a relationship with the producer. It's absolutely, you want to be their friend. You want them to think of you as someone that they would enjoy working with, all of those things. But with a director, I do feel like I would talk less about work or like specific scripts with them than I would just like vibe. Do we vibe
Absolutely.
together? Because they're going to want to work with or hire a writer or find a script that they want to do for their next movie from someone that whose like brain they really love and someone who they would love to work with. So it's very much like purely a relationship vibe thing to me in those meetings. And then I only go back to directors when I have a finished script that I think would be right for them. And I hold off like that. Sometimes it's years before I reconnect with a director because I don't have anything that's right for them.
Yeah.
Because they're not the kind of because they can't usually 99% of the time can't buy your thing. They can't give you a job.
Right.
They can attach themselves, which increases your likelihood of someone buying your script. But to like say, hey, would you read my script? Would you like, that's not something that I would do for a director unless I thought this is the project for them.
I 100% agree.
It's weird. It's a weird.
It is weird.
Difference.
For me, it feels like a different dynamic. And it should, I don't know if it should or shouldn't. And eventually these relationships turn into a familiar relationship and you kind of, you have to get there. But I'm just talking to that initial meeting. There's just something different about it.
It's similar with being, which we'll talk about, but like being a writer who meets another writer. If they're continually pushing their script on you, there's something that's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Whereas a producer is like, oh, great, like more material. No, pass. And yes, pass. Like they're kind of fine if you're pushing scripts on them a little bit more.
Sure.
But the same with the director. It's like, I
agree.
Now, you've taken a lot of these meetings. The actor meeting.
Yeah.
Tell me about actor meetings. How do you feel like you can turn those meetings into opportunities?
Actor meetings are awesome, man.
Yeah?
I love actor meetings. Because you're in a position where you're both trying to get something like made and you're trying to like figure it out. You're just like, one's a writer, one's an actor. I love actor meetings. I feel like if you're hitting it off with the person, you just stay in contact with them. Great to meet you. Great to follow up. There's the meeting where you're trying to get someone attached. Sometimes there's just a general meeting. And then sometimes those relationships turn into where you start working with the person down the line. But for me, my follow-up with actors are all very somewhat informal. Just, it was a pleasure to meet you. Like, it was great. Because when you're meeting with that person, it's like there's a reason, right? So it's either you're meeting them for a specific script or you're meeting them for a general. And if you meet them for a general, it's like, hey, let's try to figure out a way to work together in the future. I'll send you something, or I'll let you know when a script comes around that'd be right for you. Or, I would love for you to be a part of the script or whatever it may be. But for me, it's always been a bit more informal.
Yeah. More informal than a director meeting, do
Correct.
You feel like?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
God, I'm just exposing myself. I didn't know I felt this way about directors until just now. I really had no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is because it's a totally different job, a director and an actor. I've only met with actors when I've hired them already, and we're like talking about the show they're about to work on. And so it's just a very different dynamic than meeting with an actor to potentially work with them on something else in the future. But I think it's very similar to director in that you want to make sure you're on the same wavelength about the kinds of stories you want to tell, the things that you love and believe in. You want to talk about those things. What's in your head? How do you think about the world? What inspires you in the world and inspires you in film and TV? Just really like you want to see if you guys share the same vibe, for lack of a better term. And I think it is the same with writers and directors that way. Yeah, and I don't know, like you've followed up and you've since worked with actors on scripts and they've partnered with you on taking scripts out. So like how does getting them on board to a script of yours work?
I'll just send them the script and then see if they like it. What I love about the actor that I'm thinking about it is because maybe it's because we talk so much about characters and I love characters. And then you're like sending something to someone. You're like, this is how I envision this. And then they're just kind of bouncing off of it and kind of melding a character, and then that person could potentially bring the character to life. What I've done is, hey, so-and-so, I've written this thing. There's a part like I could totally see you doing this, and I just want you to, could you give it a read and tell me what you think? Something like that. If it sucks, fine. If you're not into it, fine, but I would love for you to check it out. Yeah.
It's a lot of, this is how amazing this character is in the script. This is how I see them. They're just so amazing, this, and this. It's such a great opportunity, blah, 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 blah. Here you go.
If you have a relationship with an actor, I promise you they will read your script if you say you were thinking about them when you were writing the script. I promise you.
Yeah, that's great. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. The professional writer meeting. We also like to be told we're awesome.
Yeah.
You are a new writer, up and coming writer, another writer, and you are meeting with a writer who maybe you admire, someone who's in the business doing a job that you want to do. How do you meet with that professional writer and turn it into an opportunity?
This is a very good question. Can you answer it first?
Yes. I have opinions. I think similar to the other creatives that we've been talking about, it is about making a relationship and a friendship. And some of my favorite writers are writers who have not pushed their agenda or pushed, hey, I want to be hired. Hey, please read my script. Hey, do you think you can pass my script to somebody you know? It's none of that. It's like, let's hang out. Yeah. Let's get coffee. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about writing. Let's talk about the world. And then when a job comes up, because I often don't have like an opportunity for this writer straight away, and I'm also trying to get my own stuff made, trying to manage my own calendar and all the shit that I have to do writing wise, that to like make space for someone that I maybe don't know very well is very difficult, because I also have Josh's script to read, and Josh has been my friend forever. So like, yeah, your script falls to the bottom of that pile and may never actually happen. So it's more getting caught. It's the long game. It's like following up to just say, hey, love to catch up with you. Let's grab a coffee. Let me buy you coffee, whatever that is. And then let's say I start a writer's room, and I know from all those coffees that person loves this genre and would die to be in this writer's room. That's when I'll say, hey, do you have a script that fits in this world? Like a sample that I could read? Because I'm staffing for this position. And then that can turn into an opportunity. But I think, unfortunately, because it's the long game, like this person can get me a job or like pass my script to someone important to the back of your head, and just concentrate on learning from that person. What are they doing in their job? What can you be doing that would help you become a writer? Like I was talking to a young assistant recently, and she wanted to become a writer. And as I was telling her about like my day-to-day life as a writer, she's like, oh, like, that sounds like a lot of work. I was like, well, yeah, like writing is a lot of work. She's like, oh, I don't know if that's for me. Yeah. If I could do that thing. I like writing, but like, I don't like that. And so, okay, maybe you learn from that meeting. That's not what you want to do, but learning about how that writer, those are the kind of things I love. Like I meet with writers who are above me often, and we never talk about work and how to get me a job. It's all just like, this is a new friend. This is someone who is dealing with the same shit I'm dealing with and thinking about things and the world the same way I'm like, let's talk about that. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely relationships. All of my close friends who are writers, we either talk about like just the industry, the struggles, the things that everyone's going through, because everyone is going through it, and just sharing stories. And those are the meaningful relationships to me. That's like what I would prefer. So yeah, it's just about creating a relationship with someone. And yeah.
You know what's interesting is this Nathan guy who just sold his script, his AI thriller. His story is that he just sent it to two people he happened to know in the industry. And I don't remember if in the article it states like who those friends were.
It did not.
So let's say it was another writer that's an interesting scenario.
Yeah.
Because how well do I know this person? And presumably this is not someone who's like constantly emailing these two people he knows in the industry to say like, hey, I got this script. Oh, I got this other one. I got this other one. He like waited till he had a really awesome script and said, hey guys, I'd love a read. And because he's not constantly asking for a read, then like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
My buddy Nathan never emails me to read something. Like, let me check it out. And sure enough, it's really good. So I've definitely met with other writers who have bombarded me with scripts not just like, hey, I love your thoughts, but like, what could I do with this? Or what can you do with this? Or I want to try to sell this. Like, what should I do? I don't know, like demanding things of me,
of course,
which have just been like, I got so much else to do, buddy. And I barely know you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I would love, man, I'm going to try to get this guy on the podcast.
Let's
because
go.
Like kudos to the middleman, because that could if you're not open-minded, people can send you a script and you just turn it down. You're just like, okay. And you never get to it, you know, and then to read it and then to think to yourself, wow, this was really engaging. I think I know where I can send this. And then you're off and running.
Yeah. It's very cool. Very
That's awesome.
cool. So hopefully this was helpful. If there are other specific scenarios that you've come into that you have questions on of like, what do I do? I had this meeting. This is what happened in the meeting. What do they mean by there's an open door policy? Please send us those questions and we can talk to those specific points and follow up with this idea, because I think this is incredibly important in how we get work. So it's great.
I love this.
Practical things. Quote of the day. You write in order to change the world, knowing perfectly well that you probably can't, but also knowing that literature is indispensable to the world. The world changes according to the way people see it, and if you alter even by a millimeter the way a person looks or people look at reality, then you can change it. James Baldwin.
That was just perfect.
Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram, Joshua Hallman on Twitter.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.